Everybody out there across the world. I am so excited and honored. I have the honor and the privilege to introduce my new friend, Philip. Now, let me tell you a little bit that I learned about Philip. One of the things that, there's many things that I've learned about Philip, and one is that he's a very humble man, and you can see it in his actions. The other thing that I want you to know about Philip is he's all about building relationships and training people and helping them break out of their boxes. Would you agree with that, Philip?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love doing that.
Yeah. So everybody, let's just welcome Philip. And Philip, thank you for spending time with us today. And you know what? I'm so excited about hearing more about you. I mean, I've done some research on you, and of course I could ask you a million questions, but we only have so much time. And I know you've got a busy schedule, but tell us about who Philip is. Tell us about your history with WOWLife. And yeah, you just share with us whatever you want to share.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. Just to tell you also that I'm not an arrogant man, but I think I'm a proud man. Pride is one of those things that's really hidden sometimes inside our hearts, and it's very quiet. It can really cloak itself in humility, but definitely not arrogant. So I think there's a very distinct difference between the two. But going on, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm like a third generation in a third generation pastoral family. Actually, my great grandfather was also a priest, and my grandfather was one of the first founding fathers of the charismatic move in Sri Lanka. That was my grandfather, and then automatically my father became a pastor. My uncles are all pastors. So very, very ultra legalistic religious sort of background that I grew up in. And my grandparents were extremely wealthy, one of the leading families in Sri Lanka, but they gave up all their wealth. They gave up their high life, their social life, their dancing, their partying, all of that to serve God. And so I had a huge tradition that hung over me, and almost sometimes a pressure. And so it's been a journey. And so I lost my dad as a pastor. He was a pastor. I lost my dad when he was very, very young. Wow. And I was probably about 9 years old. And so I think that was also a huge shift in my life, because obviously a lot of dynamics changed. And from there onwards, I think as you grow up as a teenager, you realize all the restrictions of an ultra legalistic religious background. Yeah. And so I think my yearning, so I left the church when I was 14 or 15. I refused to go to church anymore. And I pursued, and I went into all kinds of new age stuff, from healing stones to Reiki to energy maps to different things. I had different friends who were doing things from worshiping the moon to moon seances to Ouija boards to a lot of stuff like that, because I was really looking for one thing I was looking for was peace, because I was in absolute turmoil. I was a teenager who was in absolute turmoil. I was a young adult who was in absolute turmoil. Right. And in fact, my absolute pursuit was to go as far away as possible from Christianity. So that was my pursuit. So I really wanted to find peace and hope in some other form of teaching. But obviously, God being gracious as he was, from the age of about 20, gradually brought me back from, a friend of mine took me back to the Anglican church. And from the Anglican church, we went on to the Methodist church. And from the Methodist church, we went into a Pentecostal charismatic church. And that's where I met Kirby. And really, I started seeing, after a long time, I mean, I had experiences of freedom in the Methodist church, a little bits of encounters with God, just enjoying worship, the word, the fellowship, all of that. But really, there was something lacking inside. There was a void inside of me. And the void got a little bit more filled in the charismatic church, but still there was a void. And you could still see religion. And you always knew that you could never meet to that mark or that expectation. So I knew I was always falling short. Yeah. And that made me feel so wretched and so condemned and so judged. And because humanly it was not possible. I mean, I didn't know how what was preached on the pulpit actually, whether it was humanly possible to achieve that level of perfection. And so having encountered Kirby, Kirby came to the same church that I was in, and Kirby started a few home meetings while he was in the church. He was given permission by the church to do some home meetings, and I started seeing a big difference in those meetings. There was so much life, there was so much hope, there was so much presence, there was so much power, there was so much freedom, and but of course, I was part of the leadership of the church I worshipped, the Pentecostal church. So I was in a dilemma, and then the Lord started showing me through a series of dreams. I think I probably saw about 20 dreams, and each dream, it was pretty clear. By that time, Kirby had started WOW, and he had left the church because he found he didn't have the freedom, so he had to start on his own. And I was shuttling between both. I was going for the WOW meetings, and I was also a leader in the church. And very graciously, my pastor at that time, who was also my best friend, the pastor and I were very close friends because we were the same age. And he had told me, by all means, go for the WOW meetings, enjoy that, and also come for our meetings. And so I found, I started seeing the difference. I started seeing these dreams where the Lord was clearly, continuously showing me that there was life in this place. And this was, and the difference between the two institutions. So eventually, after a lot of prayer, and it was heartbreaking because I had to leave my best friend. I had to leave my best friend. I had to leave the community that I had grown up with and who was very supportive, because by that time I had lost my mom as well. And so they had really gathered around me to support me and help me, because I was also, I had a differently abled sibling that I had to look after. So this church had been very supportive and had been like my family. So I think it was heartbreaking and wrenching for me to have to leave, but I had to follow what the Lord was showing. And so I left and I joined WOW full time. And when I said full time, I was fully committed to WOW. And so that was the beginning of my encounter with WOW. And so, that was a crazy roller coaster journey. And I think the first years, even the people at WOW were not sure whether I had come from the religious establishment to spy on WOW. So there was a lot of suspicion, and there was a lot of insinuation. So my cry to the Lord always was, Lord, I'm like between two places. I've left my friends on this side, and here I'm with the new people who don't really know me that well. So what are you doing with me? I had to leave my comfort zone. I had to leave what I call family and really pursue what was your will and your wish for my heart. And that was a big decision. And I think if people are faced with that same kind of dilemma today when they listen to me, I think that's one of the big decisions you got to take. I had to leave those who loved me. Not that WOW didn't love me, but obviously I was new. So I had to leave those who really loved me and those I call family, and really come into a completely new place, a new territory, a teaching that was revolutionary, that was called a cult, that was called blasphemy, that was called all kinds of heresy, and here you're in the middle of a controversial move, and your family is questioning you, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, they're all asking you, what are you doing? What's this place you've gone to? So I think, I wouldn't be alive today, Rose, if I had not joined WOW. That's the reality.
Wow.
I was a very depressed, tormented, possessed, attacked, as the Pentecostals would call, harassed guy with a lot of doom and gloom, and my house was just covered with gloom. And I was making my way up in my financial life and in my work and as a professional, but still, all of that would have been not, because I think I would have not had the will or the peace or the focus or the ability to continue living. So that's the story up to now, or up to where I joined WOW. And of course, from there on in WOW, it's been an amazing journey. Again, a lot of road bumps and lots of ups and downs, having to learn how to relate with Kirby and come into relationship. And, a lot of, the offenses start coming out. The religion has to break. Offenses come up, misunderstandings, the usual challenges of working together, but yet, because our sight was focused on one thing, to serve God, I saw that this is a new move of God. So despite all the challenges that came across and all the misunderstandings, or maybe all the offenses I had, or the religion and all of that, I think there was one thing that for sure, this is God's hand is upon this. and whatever it might look like. God's hand upon a move doesn't have to tick off the boxes that the world would want to tick off. How many hundreds of thousands of people do you have in your congregation, or how many hundreds of millions of dollars do you have, or whatever. But when a man in the spirit can see the hand of God upon a particular person and upon a particular move of God, for sure this is it, right? And then more than anything, the peace you feel. I think, something that is a heresy, something that is a wrong doctrine, or something that is blasphemy cannot give you peace. Yeah. It cannot give you true, everlasting peace, and it cannot take you into a deeper encounter with God. Mm-hmm. How can a heresy or a wrong doctrine take you into a deeper encounter with God? That's my question to many people who might have all kinds of things. Right. If you really take this word, if you really absorb the word of wow that's preached, it will only take you into a deeper encounter and a deeper relationship with God. And that's my story.
Oh my gosh, Philip, that is just incredible. Okay, so there's all kinds of questions that I have around this. So when you started, so you're a successful architect and you have your own business and you've done amazing work. So at what point in time were you already in your business? Had you started your business yet when you joined WOW?
Yeah, I had already started. Yes, I already started, Rose. I had started at the age of about 19 or 20, my own practice, because at the age of 16, my mom pulled me out of high school and said, the Lord has shown me that you're going to be an architect. I'm putting you into architectural training school. So at a very young age, I was put into training school. So by the age of 19 or 20, I had already started my practice, architectural practice. When I came into WOW, I must have been in my early 30s, so I had already started. But obviously, there was a big shift when I came into WOW. There was a shift in different directions. It's just that what I would say, what WOW really did was, obviously, God had a plan and a destiny in my life, for my life. But what WOW did was it facilitated that pathway and made it easy, made it peaceful, made it with less depression, with less sorrow, with less stress, with less trauma, with a greater understanding, and with a greater control of one's own destiny. So I think that's what WOW did was, God has a plan for all of us, but obviously the way he takes us and the pathway we follow and which move of God and which reformation and which revival we align ourselves with will only facilitate that pathway, and open up doors for you faster and quicker, because as you walk into more and more revelation, it just keeps opening up doors, and it just quickens the process.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is primarily a Buddhist nation, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So with your business being there, were you challenged in your business at all by being a part of the WOWLife world?
Yes, definitely. I've had incidents like the tax department raid my office because, and the Lord had shown me this some time ago. So I was praying against it, and I knew it was going to happen because obviously somehow Colombo and Sri Lanka is like a village. It's a small place. So word gets around that so-and-so is funding the move of God. He's sowing big money into this place. And so there is two ways questions are raised about where is he getting this money.
Yeah.
The second question is, what can we do to cut the supply chain? What can we do to cut the lifeline of the finances? So obviously those who may have been against us or whatever had plotted and planned to try and disrupt me or disrail me. So they had the tax department come in and they couldn't. Obviously we are very clean. We keep our books. Everything is in order. So there was nothing that they could do to us. I wouldn't say consciously that I've known any projects or any business being blocked. I'm sure there would have been attempts behind the sidelines, behind the lines. But I think I've been very honoring, Rose, to people of every denomination, every religion, every caste, every creed. My attitude has been to be absolutely honoring, and I have had no discrimination. My office is probably 99% Buddhist, my employees. I probably only have about 1% of Christians. It's not because I've consciously done that, but it's just naturally and automatically these people have come alongside. And the Lord has clearly shown me that some of these Buddhist and Hindu professionals in my practice are part of God's plan for my life. He's clearly shown me through dreams and visions, these people working alongside me. So God doesn't think that only Christians need to come into your life for his plan to fall into place. That's just foolish religiousness. And we block off so many opportunities for God to be able to work in our lives. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life have come through, Buddhists, from atheists, from people who are gay or transgender or whatever. Some of the biggest breakthroughs and business opportunities have come through people of different backgrounds, and so we need to be open for God to work in our lives through anyone.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love it. And there again, going back to one of my things that I said in the very beginning about you was about you and your relationships that you build and how important that is to you. And there again, that's a demonstration of that, right? I mean, it's just about loving God's people. It doesn't matter whether they're Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, it doesn't, New Age, it doesn't matter. And because you know what, we're all God's creation. And I just think it's beautiful the way that you do that. And it's probably challenged some mindsets. But so in your business, because you've been, you have a strong business and a beautiful business too. I love some of the work that you've done that I've seen anyway, and I'm excited to see more. But so tell me about how does your business and WOWLife World come together? How does that work together?
I think it's seamless, Rose. I don't try to define or have boundaries. Like I'm doing this, I'm going in for a meeting. Before this conversation with you, I had another meeting. In the middle of my work, I'll have people coming for ministry. So I don't define boundaries saying this is ministry, this is work, this is personal life. It's all seamless. Sometimes we hang out together. We may be at a barbecue, but we're talking ministry plans. We may be on the beach and we are ministering to somebody. We've been at nightclubs and we minister to people, but we don't go to the nightclub saying we are going to minister to people. We go to the nightclub to have a good time. But when we are there, we meet people, we minister, we lay hands, we pray. We might be wherever. So I think our lives are seamless. I think we must get out of this definition of boundary lines so that then there's no stress. Then you're not saying, oh my God, I'm losing on my personal time, or oh my goodness, I need to give more time for this or whatever. It's a beauty. And trust me, that's how God can really create time for you then. And then you'll find a lot of freedom. I've found so much free time. The more I let go and the more I throw myself into his kingdom, the more time that gets freed up for me. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's so good. And there again, breaking out of those boxes, going out to have a good time. And you know what? All of a sudden there's an opportunity in front of you that you need to do something for the kingdom. Isn't that amazing how that works? Well,
it's phenomenal. It's very encouraging.
It is. It really is. You never know. It's like entertainment in and of itself. You never know what's going to happen. So, So, okay. So I know you're going to have to run soon, but I just want to ask you too about what has been something that has been very challenging for you that has been challenging for you, that's provided maybe some of your most growth that you've had as a Christian or as a businessman, however you want to answer that.
Yeah, I think there are several things. I think one of the challenges, of course, obviously has been losing my parents and losing my brother at a very young age. And I think the other challenge was to really be having to take care of a sibling who's really slightly differently able, and having that so that could be a challenge. But really, Rose, for the longest time and for most part of my life, I've never looked at them as challenges. It's not that I would wish for someone to pass away to call it a blessing, but I really think that had I not had these challenges, my path in life would have taken a very different turn. And I shudder to think where I may have ended up had I not had these challenges. So I don't wish for future challenges in my life either. I'm very careful. I'm not one of those sort of Christians with a lot of bravado in them saying, I want to take on challenges and I'll have more of them. But I've had a lot of challenges also in work sometimes, I mean, it's, I don't, I think I tell people this sometimes. I say, I don't give because I'm blessed. I give to be blessed.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving because I have so much, but I give everything or whatever I can because I know that it's only just going to continue to multiply and it always takes care of my needs. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or misconstruction by just looking at a person or looking at the way a person gives or their lifestyle. Just because I choose to fly first class or I choose to stay in the best hotels or I choose to wear certain types of clothing doesn't mean that I'm now doing that in the way the world would do it. The world would probably use 10% or 5% of their earnings to do that. And that we want to be what they call thrifty or diligent. I don't discourage being diligent, but I think there's a certain anointing and a mindset that God will give you to be able to be extravagant upon yourself, not wasteful, not careless, but it's a beautiful balance that God gives you to be able to be extravagant on yourself, extravagant on those around you. And so I don't think people should be judged by the volume that's given to their net worth. Because to me, my net worth on earth or in earthly values doesn't matter. I don't really care. Don't care about my net worth or what's in the bank. My net worth is my mindset, right? And that's what's important. People need to have a net worth, a mindset of their net worth, of what it is for your glorious riches in Christ. And truly, that needs to get translated to the real touch and feel. Others, it's such a cliche religious terminology. They keep talking about the glorious riches of His glory, right? But really, how can we translate those glorious riches? And that's the mindset. I think mindset. I mean, I've traveled, Rose. I travel, and when I travel first class, sometimes it's almost embarrassing because there are multi-billionaires, multi-dollar billionaires who are probably seated in business or in coach, and these are my clients. And these guys sometimes have to cross the aisle of the first class cabin, and they probably think this guy is either dealing in drugs or he's doing something that he has more money than us to sit in first class. But they don't understand that I have a different mindset. I'm not doing that to show off. I'm not doing that to be arrogant. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that with an absolute understanding that I need to break barriers. I need to break boundaries. That this whole concept that I need to travel coach because I need to be careful so that I can save a little bit extra money to buy a handbag or a pair of shoes. I need to get out, or do I need to always run for the sales? I'm just trying to break that mindset in people, and that's why I travel first class. I'm trying to break that mindset in myself. I bought a Mercedes convertible a couple of weeks ago. I didn't need extra car. I already have about 4 cars, but the Lord had shown me about 2 years ago. He'd shown me in a vision. He had given a couple of others dreams, showing me the need to, of course, I loved a convertible. I always wanted to have a convertible, but I really didn't need it. And everybody told me in the middle of a pandemic, the Sri Lankan economy is going through a rough patch. Do you really need to do this? But I knew it was a prophetic act that the Lord wanted me to do, and it was going to break some boundaries. So I did that because I'm breaking into another realm. I'm breaking into a realm that is dominated by certain types of people. People say that, a fifth car, which is a convertible, is only for a multi-billionaire of this kind of category. But the Lord wants us to break those false ideologies down, those false truths, those false statements, so that more people, if somebody's earning $1,000, can now step up into a $2,500 realm. And it's so we all need to keep stepping up. It's all for God's glory, Rose. I'm just dead. I'm just dead. I'm happy. I'm just a beach bum. I grew up as a beach boy when I was young. I grew up by the sea, so I just spent my whole life being a beach bum on a surfboard or just swimming, snorkeling. And I love just to go back to that life. I don't aspire to any of this. I've been with the rich and famous. I've flown all over the world in private jet. I've been to south of France, to Monaco, to all the, the so-called holiday destinations. I've done it all,
Wow.
These don't impress me one bit. I mean, my most amazing place is to be in the midst of the family of God, in the body of Christ, just worshiping, chatting, fellowshipping. It sounds cliche, but truly that's the most amazing place. I've been in rooms full of bunches of pretentious people, of artists and famous people, all in this, high society rooms. And really, I mean, after a while, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to impress, or what's this whole image you're trying to create? So I'm dead to it. It's important to do that. I still go for some of those events.
Right.
I still socialize, I still move, but I have a different identity of myself. I'm not aspiring to be them. I'm not aspiring to be like them. I am the Christ kind. I know who I am, and I move and I integrate with them with that identity. So yeah, that's who I am.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I hope I'm not rambling on too much.
No, it's so good, Philip. Okay, so you said that you just bought a new car 2 weeks ago. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got into a car accident. It was a 12 car pileup. Okay. A 12 car pileup. Right. It wasn't my fault.
Right.
It started this chain reaction. Okay. And I was on the way to the hospital, or I was on the way to pick up my friend to take her to the hospital for an appointment.
Right.
So, okay. So I get into this car accident and then I'm like, are you kidding me? So now I'm in the market so I could have got the insurance to fix it, and I would have been fine. It would have been comfortable, blah, blah, blah. And I know that God's like, it's time for a new car. And so you're saying this to me, and I'm hearing the synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like now pulling on this synchronicity, like, okay, Philip got a new car. I'm going to get a new car, and it's going to be an upgrade for me. So coach me on what to do. I mean, like, what should I be thinking about? Because I'm telling you, it's a stretch for me, because I mean, I could just get my car that I have now fixed, and it would be fine, comfortable. It's still a great car. It's got plenty of miles left on it, that sort of thing. And it's paid off.
Yeah. No, I think if you feel led to go for a new car, and I think it's always nice to go for new things. It's always breaking a new boundary and a new upgrade. So just go for something you like. I mean, if you feel cautious and uncomfortable that you don't want to go way over your limit, don't. It's okay. You don't have to push yourself that much, but push yourself at least maybe 1 or 2 notches above what you already have, and go for it, because trust me, I mean, God will back you up, and
well, Philip, I have to do it. I have to stretch myself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And here's the reason is because of bringing God's glory into the earth.
Yeah. Exactly. Absolutely.
Showing his glory.
Yeah.
And and all of that. And so when you said that, and this whole synchronicity thing that Kirby teaches is amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And that's Rose, that's the only way you can also give beyond your means. Like I always try to give way more than is comfortable, way more than what is able. That's why I say people misunderstand. They think that I only give my excess. The last year or more, I basically gave almost 100% of all my profits in my company. Most of the time, there were times that we did save some money, just put some stuff away. But sometimes we accumulated that and also sold larger amounts into the ministry. And so I think the same way I push boundaries to go beyond the limit to buy something for myself, I push them, so that enables you to be able to push the boundaries to be able to give more than what is comfortable to the kingdom as well, because it works both ways. That your kingdom anyway, the kingdom is within you. So you do things for yourself, which is beyond boundaries, and you do the same thing for the kingdom around you, So I think, as I said, again, it goes back to that whole seamless thing,
Yes. And that's been a challenge for some people to bring together their worlds, their work, their spiritual life, their, I mean, like, you just came off of Iron Man. Oh my gosh. Iron Man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, everything is a challenge, Rose. Trust me, even for me, every time I have to give something, there are inner challenges, there are inner thoughts, there are inner battles that
Yeah.
go on in your mind. So never mistake or never misconstrue or assume that it's easy for Philip Weeraratne. He just
Right.
gives it very coolly and everything is fine. There are many challenges. There are times that, a lot of the time I've had to give when I had other needs that needed to be taken care of. So
Yeah.
you always have needs. You always have things that you need to settle on your end.
Yeah.
But trust me, whenever I've done that, God has settled more than my needs and everything I needed. So I think giving is a challenge. This walk with God is a challenge. There are challenges that come, but I think the challenges become easier with more word in you as your conscience gets clearer. And as you walk with more confidence with your identity and knowing who you are and knowing who your God is, I think the challenges become lesser in our mind. Most of the challenges are in our mind. And
Right. Yes.
yeah.
Well, and it kind of goes back to, another one of Kirby's messages where he was talking about Abraham at the bottom of the mountain, and what Abraham knew at the bottom of the mountain was totally different than what he knew and what he realized and the revelation he got at the top of the mountain.
Yes.
And that's so good. And I always have to remind myself, I'm not at the top of the mountain yet. And so I know the revelation looks different up there. And so I'm going to learn some things. But okay, so we've got Mysterion coming up, and I'm super excited about that. And we just had that incredible message that Kirby spoke about owning it. And Philip, thank you for owning your
Thank you
part.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just appreciate you owning your part. And before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind just saying a quick word about how others can own their part.
Yeah, I think it's very simple, Rose. I mean, I look at it like my own business venture. That's the best way to be able to break. I think the moment you tell somebody take ownership of something as your own business or your own economic venture, I think it becomes very easy. So I look at it as my own thing. You need to just change your eyesight. So if there is a need, somebody needs a chair at the meeting. This is my house. How would you treat somebody in your house? You would give your chair. Somebody has a need. Somebody needs a glass of water. They are in my house. I need to give them that water. There's a financial need. My mom or my dad needs finances. How do I look at it? My sister needs finances. How do I look at it? The roof of the house is breaking down. How do I look at it? So it's very easy. It's just from looking at it like it's Rosa's ministry or Linda's ministry or Kirby's ministry or it's somebody else's church. This is my own thing. It's really mine. It's absolutely, and I look at it like I own it 100%. I don't look at it like somebody else owns 5%, so I should just do 5% and allow somebody else to do the other 95%. I say, no, I own this 100%. I'm a full owner of this. So I'm going to do as much as possible as to the level of 100%. Otherwise, Kirby spoke that day about Kirby and I actually footing a lot of the bill. And if he took that attitude saying, no, I'm only like 5% of this, or if I took an attitude saying I'm only 5% of this, we would just control what we give to that, right? But taking ownership means you say, okay, I am the only owner of this. Yes, we are co-owners, but you take a mindset that if I have to just take this whole thing on and run with it, I'm going to take this whole thing on and run with it, right? And that's what we need to have, even though that will never be expected of us.
Right. Yeah. So good. Philip, thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you for sharing
awesome.
with the world. And I so appreciate you. And I'm really excited about this business mastermind that's coming up and what you're going to share there too.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. And
bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Love you.